Yo, bass nerds on planet Earth, welcome to a very special gear check. It is very special because I got the chance to lay my hands on an Alembic Series 1 4-string bass. Alembic, of course, is a legend, and that makes me feel kind of awestruck having this bass actually in my hands. A legend it is not only because of its rare instruments, they're very hard to find, and I know very few people who own one. Legend also because of its tone, because of its outstanding sound philosophy behind the instruments, and also, of course, a legend because of the price tag. That's legendary, right? So, yeah, I'm not sure if I can do justice to an instrument that price. Because is it just an instrument? Is it a work of art? Is it, what is it? So the history beyond Alembic is pretty simple. Ron Wickersham and his wife Susan worked for the Grateful Dead back in the late 60s, 1960s. And Ron Wickersham was an electronic engineer, still is, of course, an electronic engineer, building recording consoles for the Grateful Dead, and might also have been a part of the legendary Wall of Sound, which was the huge PA system the band had in the 70s. At one point, he found out that it might be necessary to build active circuitry for the electric guitars and the electric basses the band were using at the time. So Jerry Garcia, Phil Lesh, and all the other guys were happy with him doing stuff, making their instruments sound better. So Ron Wickersham can undoubtedly be called the godfather of active circuitry in electric guitars and basses. He kind of pioneered that field using power to empower instruments, using batteries, using actual power supplies to power up the instruments and the pickups and the electronics and stuff. That originally was his idea. So it's no surprise that in Ron's philosophy in building instruments, the most important part is pickups and electronics. That's one system for him. So you don't have pickups and electronics, you have it both. It's one thing, okay? So that's the heart and soul for the Alembic instruments as he sees it. I don't know any brand who says electronics first, wood second. Usually everybody says Tonewoods first, and everything else is just to bring about the tone from the player, of course, and from the wood. As you can see, this instrument looks very special. This is actually the very modern, I'd say, K-shape of the series instruments. This one actually has an Omega cut right here, which is known from the Series 2, from the original Series 2 instruments. But body shape wise, Alembic is not featuring one shape per series. as I said, the electronics is the heart and soul of an instrument. And that's why you can find serious instruments with complete different shapes, like the Rogue shape or the Orion shape, or maybe the Spider or the Exploiter shape, because what matters is the electronic system. And this one changes from series to series. And the Series 1, Alembic Series 1 electronics is very, very tricky. It's kind of like you have to make a license for it, actually. But if you're into it and if you know what happens there, you can really use it, and it really shapes your tone the way you want it. So that's a great thing, I'd say. Let's go into Tonewoods. First, of course, we have, which is typically for Alembic, we have a sandwich right here. Back in the 70s, I said it before, Rob was working with the Grateful Dead, and so this sandwich here was called the hippie sandwich. And yeah, actually, it is a sandwich, right? So the core is mahogany. Top and back is cocobolo, and in between we find maple. Of course, we have a neck through construction, maple and purple heart. And we have, that's very nice, on the headstock, we also have a sandwich, cocobolo and purple heart and maple. Fretboard made from ebony, inlays from abalone, and yeah, that's it wood-wise. We have, of course, a high gloss finish for the body and for the headstock, not so for the neck. It's a satin neck, which feels really, really good. And electronic-wise, of course, made in-house at Alembic. Santa Rosa, I think it is, in California. These pickups are single coil pickups. And in between the pickups, you can see a dummy coil. And this dummy coil is for avoiding hum noises if you only use one of the pickups. Bridge pickup plus dummy coil makes a humbucker, right? So there is no noise interfering into the sound, into the system. Same goes, of course, for the neck pickup. Then you have a switch here. In this position, the bass is completely switched off. The next position, it's only bridge pickup plus dummy coil. Next position is both pickups. Next position is neck pickup only. Then we have two volume controls, one for each pickup. Then we have two frequency switches, one for each pickup. And then we have two Q controls, which are the legendary Alembic filters, one for each pickup. Down here we have a switch to engage the LEDs. You can see LEDs on the side of the fretboard. And a very, very cool thing is we have red LEDs. Besides, on the 12th and 24th fret, we have amber colored LEDs. That's very nice. Then we have another very little switch right here. And this one switches the output from mono to stereo. Okay, so you can use the bass stereo, meaning you have two different pickups and they go stereo out to maybe two different amps or two different channels on the console. We have a connector cable for the power supply. This one actually goes to the power supply and powers up the Alembic. And if plugged in, you of course at the power supply itself, you can go out with a usual 6.3 cable, or 2 if you use it in stereo, and then go to your amplifier. And you better don't lose the power supply or the cable, because these are very special and very expensive add-ons for an Alembic bass. Okay, so that's the special power cable and the everything cable. This jack here can be used without the power supply. Then you need 2 9-volt batteries. It runs with 18 volt. Or you can also run a headphone in here. The bass has a built-in headphone amplifier. We have electronic compartments, we have batteries, and we have different switchings here. So I'll open that up later just to have a look inside what's in there and just how it looks, right? Because that's also important. And that's, if the electronic is the heart and soul, that's something we should look at. And here we are back again with the opened circuitry back here. And you can see right here we have the electronics itself. You have 4 controls here to control the output of the 2 pickups and to control the balance with the dummy coil. You have the 2 batteries here, and right here, of course, controls, massive putties here, and everything very, very well done. Now people, this Alembic logo here is made from sterling silver. So that's one part of the 20,000 euro, right? And actually I found out on the Alembic webpage, this logo is not just a logo, it has a meaning actually. So the cloud here represents the universe, the hand represents mankind, the dragon in a circle represents infinity and represents wisdom. And the Alembic in here represents a goal and represents purity. So that's what the Alembic logo stands for. And you might have seen different versions of the logo. They vary a little, depending on the instrument or depending how much you want to spend or whatever. Hardware-wise, down here we have a 2-piece bridge, which also is made in-house at Alembic. Both parts are countersunk into the wood, and you can of course adjust intonation, and you can of course adjust action. Overall action, not per string, but overall action on this piece here with the screws on the side. Just want to talk about the cue controls here and the frequency switches. You can really hear what they're doing, and that's a part which comes from the history of Ron Wickersham as an audio engineer, because that's really kind of like a semi-parametric equalizer. You have 3 frequencies here, and now demonstrated with a bridge pickup. 3 frequencies here. If you use this one, you can really hear the mwah. Hear that? And that goes for the different frequencies. So there's a ton of varieties in sound coming from this electronic circuit here. You can use the filters per pickup, you can use volume per pickup, you can use only one pickup, only the other one. So that's a variety of different tones. And actually I played around with it the whole day, and not only today, I played around with it the whole week or something. And I have to admit that there's rarely one bass who sounds so even, not only across the strings, but across the whole fretboard. So that's really, really surprising to me that an instrument made of wood can sound so completely straight, completely even. Yeah. So listen to this. It's amazing, right? So volume-wise, tone-wise, it's the same down here as it is up here, and that's great. So now I use both pickups. No, wait a second. I already used both pickups. I now use only the bridge pickup, and that's... And now I use only the... That was the neck pickup, actually. I'm sorry. And now that's the bridge pickup. No, where we are? Oh, no, no, it's off. So. So you see there's a variety of different tones, different sound shapes and everything in this electronic circuit. But you better know what to do. See, I switched the bass off and didn't realize it. So yeah, if that happens at a show, at a recording, not so good, right? I really like the direct response of the Alembic, meaning it really speaks when you change, say, your hand position. It really reacts, it really turns small movements into sound. I really like that. Listen to this. That was both pickups on. I now tried with a bridge pickup only. So you can really hear a direct response. Small sonical details, but that's what I really dig about this instrument. So it's not only responding to your position of your playing hand, also the harmonics really shine and really jump out of the instrument. Listen to this one. That's both pickups now. Thing I found out over time is, or I thought about over time, is if you want to have an instrument, you of course can just have an instrument which is an instrument, which sounds okay and which plays cool and looks rock and roll or whatever and works in your band and cuts through the mix, whatever you want. And that's fine, of course. But you can also have an instrument that is looking gorgeous and made from the best materials available and made with a perfection and craftsmanship that's outstanding. And these instruments tend to cost a little more, right? So of course you can play a $500 or $1,000 or euro instrument. They're playable, of course, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Absolutely not. But if you want to, if you wish so, if you have the money, you might want to go for more exclusive instruments. Same thing goes for cars. If you want a car, of course you can go for a Volkswagen. And a Volkswagen is a cool car because you can fit your family in there, you can fit your Alembic 8x10 cabinet in there and all that kind of stuff. But if you want to go for something special, you might want to buy a Porsche or a Ferrari or whatever it is. These cars might not be as practical as a Volkswagen, but these cars are something special. Same thing goes for classical instruments. You can buy, I heard a story from a former teacher of mine who bought an upright bass, classical upright bass for 300,000 euros. So in classical instruments, the 20,000 for this Series 1 here is not a big deal, right? It is a big deal when we're talking about electric basses, just instruments. But I'd say if you go for an Alembic, you're not only going for an instrument. If you're only going for an instrument and want an Alembic, you go to the lower series, Orion, Excel, Europe, Rogue. There are a few. They have a few lower series, but the real deal, Alembic-wise, is the Series 1, which was the first model they produced back in the 70s, and the Series 2, which is even more expensive because of a more complicated circuitry. And that's the real Alembic deal, right? So, and if you go for that, you're not only looking for an instrument, you look for a perfect work, craftsmanship from another planet, and wood selection from somewhere else. And you might also be looking for a little American way of life. Might be. If you buy a Harley Davidson motorcycle, obviously that's not the best of motorcycles there are, right? But hey, it's a Harley. It has a specific sound which is cool as hell. They drive cool, they feel cool, and you got that Route 66 spirit. See? And maybe it's something like that with an Alembic too. You have this kind of American dream, kind of American spirit, Rex to Riches thing and all that. And that might be a part of the legend of Alembic. So in my opinion, it makes no sense to talk about an instrument like this if it's worth the price. If we only talk instrument, I'd say no, it's not. But if we talk work of art, if we talk spirit, if we talk philosophy behind the instrument, if we talk craftsmanship, everything, I'd say yes, it is. When I read the news the other day about some painting from whoever, Gauguin or something, was sold at Sotheby's for several $1,000,000. Yeah, you don't go and you don't value that kind of art just by the materials or just by the time that was needed to paint it, right? And same goes here. You not only pay for woods, you not only pay for the time they needed to build the instrument, you pay for more. You pay for the idea, you pay for the philosophy, you pay for every thought Ron Wickersham and his wife Susan spent on these instruments. You pay for the idea behind the logo. Of course, you pay for sterling silver logo. Of course, you pay for the framing of the LEDs made from silver too. Of course, you pay for all of that. But there's more to it. And that's why, in my opinion, an Alembic serious instrument, not the more affordable ones, serious instrument, is something very, very special. Because obviously, for most musicians, working musicians, these instruments are not affordable, right? Instrument-wise, if we're talking instrument again, the Alembic, the Series 1, is outstanding. The sound and the tonal possibilities of it is just amazing. I never heard an instrument like that. It's completely one of a kind. So if you ever have the chance to lay your hands on an Alembic, just play it. Just get an idea of what is it? What is it behind the legend of Alembic? And what is the secret of an Alembic instrument? I'd say, talking instruments, it's the outstanding sound. And therefore, of course, guys like Stanley Clarke, Mark King played Alembic for a long time. Also Phil Lesh, of course, from the Dead, played Alembic for a long time. I think he does again now, I'm not sure. But all these guys played Alembic for a reason, right? And the reason is not they look cool or they're expensive or whatever. The reason for these guys is they sound the way they want their instrument to sound. And they sound so these guys can express their emotions via the instrument. So there's a reason for these guys choosing Alembic instruments. And that's all there is. Here we have bridge pickup only. Please notice I don't use the stereo mode. I only use the mono mode. But the sound is so three-dimensional, and you really hear every note I play, and it really draws fine lines between the different pitches I play. So you can really hear every single note. So here we go again. So, ladies and gentlemen, Alembic Series 1, K-shaped body with an Omega cut, 20,000 euros only, available at Station Music in Jettingen, Scheppach, which is in between Ulm and Augsburg. I'd like to thank Lothar Walter for the opportunity to do this review. If you ever have the chance to go to the shop, or if you ever have the chance to play an Alembic elsewhere, just do it, go for it. It's an experience, absolutely. It's an experience to play an Alembic. Great instrument, great bass, wow. So, thanks for watching the video, thanks for subscribing to my channel, thanks for your like, of course. And if you have questions, if you have comments, please feel free down here. I do my very best to answer. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.